even for RNG. For WE, it is blue side, the team I was thinking of, but we are in a pick ban, ladies and gentlemen. WE on that said blue side, RNG on red. Remember, these teams are lossless right now in the LPL. This series is going to decide who stands above and sits with EDG. As already those side lanes, those flexes, Clement, have been targeted by WE.
Lucian is one of the big ones. Renekton also has seen Xiaohu take him into the mid lane. The big question here is, will the Akali still appear on patch 11.2? That has been a constant ban away from RNG because both Xiaohu and Cryin can play it. Now it's completely open. That's going to be the big question.
90% of the time, Akali is banned against RNG. This is one of the rare cases, folks, where we haven't seen it. Olaf first pick, that's a natural cause here for Beishang, a favorite champion of his before Gore Drinker even came into the picture. Now let's see if that flex pick gets hovered by RNG.
I will say RNG drafting on the red side is a lot more standard because you have that last pick and you can just look at what the enemy team is going to throw out. They do trend towards using counter picks rather than just going for flex picks to confuse opponents. So I think we will see some rather standard openings coming from them. The AD carry and the jungle position most likely going to be the first two picks as we see RNG lock in the Xayah.
Yep, Gala, this is going to be game number 5. He's most played AD carry, currently supporting an 11 KDA. Most picked up for Cryin here in the mid lane as well, but we already talked about it, Clement. Xiaohu's willing to flex this to the top side of the map, so a question mark sent over to WE.
I don't think you get away with Orianna top lane against Breathe, though. He definitely has... He has too many champions that don't fall into that sandbag category. He has a lot of things like Jax and Camille and Fiora that he's played into the past. And bringing something like Orianna it's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You definitely don't win out against that. So I do expect this to be a more standard setup for the mid lane.
Remember, we did talk about the stats before, but the Camille gets locked on in. Heading towards the top side here for Breathe. So another carry potential in the champion. And yeah, you probably don't want to be running the Orianna against something that can set up the engage. RNG, on the other hand, thinking about a jungler for now.
Udyr versus Olaf seems to be a pretty decent matchup. The Olaf can't really chase up against the Udyr, so, you know, it's kind of a wash in that section, and you are a better ganker. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see the Udyr pop out more often against the Olaf, but for now, they're going to keep it open with another flex pick. We have to remember that Gragas is actually a triple lane threat. It can go top, jungle, and support at the same time, and we actually have seen Karsa, who is a former RNG member, run this split as well. And I actually do think it fits Wei pretty nicely because he is also another ganking focused jungler. So, you know, RNG just keeping their options open here. It's going to make WE's bans very difficult because you will feel like you're wasting bans if you go into any of the 3 positions open, since Gragas can just fill.
Like we see with that Graves, right? Already trying to target the jungle pool, thinking, well, the safest bans we can take away are the things that, you know, Wei has shown up on before, just in case. Probably the least likely lane, or rather position that Gragas would play. But we're going to find out at the very least. WE with the 1 jungle ban. RNG have opted in for the support with the flex on Galio, I should say. It is a support because Missing would have to play it if they picked it up. WE though, Clement, you talked about the flex picks. What do we get? Nah banned away in the end. So 1 from each role. Now we get to find out.
So far, the only other champions Xiaohu has picked into are Malphite and Akali. All the rest of them have been banned away, so it's highly probable that Xiaohu might have to take this Gragas. We're not really sure of what extent Xiaohu's top lane champion pool has shaped up to be. I'm not really expecting anything like the Jax or the Aatroxes to be coming out from him. They are just going to go for an Alistar pick, which is pretty standard. Combined up with the Xayah. And for W, I do want to see some chase potential coming up from the AD carry, because their other members are very much pick oriented. The Jhin is nice. The Tristana also has a lot of reset potential.
Yep, just adding the Leona, you know, adds that pick potential too. So you've already gotten a lot of isolated damage here. A lot of ability to hit and a choke too. You mentioned the Jhin being likable, Clement. I think I agree with you 100%. And Jiumeng is going to show up, so we get a bit of range here with Syndra and Jhin on the comp. We'll talk about that in a second. I want to see where this Gragas goes, what the jungle pick is, what the top pick is, what is actually happening in another RNG draft.
Yeah, this is pretty difficult to see. I actually wouldn't. I feel like they need to take something pretty aggressive in the top lane if this Gragas is going for the jungle. This fits a little bit better. I do like this. Just another AD champion and double AP solo laner, so you get a little nice mix of damage, and it also starts things off a little bit better as a secondary carry for Wei here.
Yeah, it's something that I think that now that we've simplified comps, I want to talk a little bit more about, you know, what happens with the RNG draft. There are a lot of big ultimates, a lot of ways for RNG to play around these fights, Clement. And, you know, with Xiaohu taking the Gragas up into the top lane, he's going to be tested in lane by Breathe. A lot of base damage, but the matchup could be volatile.
I really like RNG's draft so far. This is a very defensive draft. They know that WE are coming in with a skirmish and pick-oriented team composition, so they have things like the Lamb's Respite to keep members alive. They have a lot of disengage with Orianna and Gragas, and also Xayah is one of the hardest AD carries to catch. So this is a team composition that I think they can walk into objectives first, establish control there, and force the enemy team into them. They have a very, very strong counter-engage sort of team composition that isn't easy to pick off whatsoever. And it does read as a bit of a counter to what WE has.
Yeah, you already talked about the pick for WE. Is that solely what you want to see here in Game 1? Is it all about the pick that added from Syndra, from Leona, from Jhin, and using that range?
So I think the key here for WE is actually to get the side lane split pushing going on, because if they run into RNG 5v5, I don't think they really have a chance. It's just way too easy for RNG to zone them out to keep their members alive. So they really need priority coming into these fights. Breathe is going to be the key member here.
See, let's go into this one. Highlight matchup on the Chinese side, RNG versus WE. Caught by surprise, but, you know, on their side, they're saying, hey, it's Happy Friday. I could have sworn with that one. I'm trying to think what else starts with F that, you know, also goes with Friday. It's Fun Time Friday. All right, that's...
there we go.
We're running into it. You know, the championship weekend already talked about. WE, RNG, historical organizations in the LPL, once again facing off in the Rift. Teams are lossless so far. RNG sitting 4-0, WE 5-0 to kick off this split. Both teams looking exceptional in their own right. We talked a lot about the draft, but now that we're into game, Clement, you did say that RNG against WE's comp feel very comfortable negotiating around this pick potential.
They don't really have any members that can die easily to the enemy team. If you look at their mobility and their rune choices, summoner choices, excuse me, Gala is going to be incredibly safe. So if RNG managed to take this to a 5v5 and basically go W to come into them, I think they have a much stronger win rate. And just talking about the lane matchups a little bit, we actually have seen the Gragas perform quite well against the Camille until much later into the game. The Camille has to wait a long time for her to get her sustain up. Things like the Ravenous Hydra second has been very crucial for her to keep the trading in her favor in this lane.
Feels like Divine Thunder as well with that Ravenous, that 2-item spike where there's so much healing off trading with champions. Could be super beneficial here for Breathe. Just remember Xiaohu, the previous mid laner, actually dodging away the body slam. That not hitting is pretty big, and Breathe hits too. And that's the lane trading we're talking about. Breathe just outmaneuvering.
Yeah, what Xiaohu wanted to do was get the bop down, maybe hit the W and just back off, but instead he misses. Breathe gets the adaptive shield.
Again. Oh, Q's actually.
That was a decent trade, though.
Yeah, that was okay. It's okay. Breathe trying to outmaneuver. Again, we talked about this, you know. Breathe has been one of the better laners, Clement, and Beishang pays a lot of attention to this lane. So in this early game, I want you also to tell me how Beishang gets to this wave, what the pathing is for the junglers that we should look for.
So we have seen Kindred being used as a bit of a counter to Olaf. You can dodge away his undertow with your short cooldown on your rain dance, on your arrow dance of arrows. So it's fairly easy for him to just walk away from him. And I think the most important thing for Wei in this situation is actually just to keep his top lane alive. That's the most important thing out of this matchup. Make sure that Breathe gets to his 3 items as slow as possible. Make sure he doesn't get the split push most of this game. And that's what we're seeing right now. You know, Wei is going to be hovering more towards the top side, making sure that Xiaohu doesn't go into any trouble.
I got to add that after those trades, I mean, Breed is in such good position. He pushed out the wave. Xiaohu only on 10 CS now. And Breed just gets to walk down, put a ward down, and now come back into the wave and just keep pushing in. So these trades that we saw before, such an early impact added for WE, and the fact it's giving the 300, 400 gold lead at 4 minutes in.
This is going to be very detrimental to Wei. He's not going to be able to get his first stack going. And we also see Beishang with the double scuttle coming in already if he does decide to go for this one. He should be able to get it without too many troubles. So a sizable CS lead going into Beishang already. He's going to hit level 6 first. And looking at this wave right now, it is very dangerous for Xiaohu. His wave is pushing out. He needs his jungle attention, but his jungle's already showing on the map. So the ball's really is in Beishang's court, depending on how he wants to play it. He can decide to zone out Xiaohu in the top lane, or, you know, do anything, go for any of his other options.
It is going to be Scuttle for top side. Denies the mark here from Wei as well. Level lead with the CS advantage you talked about before. Wei positioning, posturing aggressively for the bottom lane dive, but Missing and Jiumeng are onto this. Nothing's going to happen until we actually turn to the mid lane, and Shanks and Cryin bopping each other in the face. Note that the vision control is secured by Wei for this bottom side, but Beishang nearby, he'll be spotted out.
They definitely know that Wei is in their own jungle because that ward wasn't dropped by the Orianna. It has to be the Kindred incoming. And Wei knows this as well. He's going to exit the jungle. He is going to get spotted. And just based on the way that W's bot lane was playing, I think RNG are fully aware that he was sitting on vision somewhere.
Backs away, goes back without keeping the Krugs going. Beishang takes that away. Look at the CS differential. Beishang in the right time, in the right place. And even though he's spotted out here, I mean, it's fine. He'll go back to farming. He's got mid-priority Clement. Shanks can just move freely, move into Fog of War, and potentially Dragon, or just keep the pace up in this bottom lane.
And this is why we said it would be a huge test to RNG to see if their record actually matches their true strength. A lot of times they were getting away with these kind of wonky flex picks because the enemy laners weren't really that good, and you could get away with something like an Orianna top. This time RNG has to play pretty damn honest, and they're actually the ones getting counterpicked on the red side themselves. So WE coming out with the stronger lanes, stronger early game plan. Yeah. They are going to cash out with this Ocean Drake.
Ocean into Mountain coming up next. Beishang still with the lead. Jiumeng with the CS lead. Breathe with the CS lead by 10 up in that top lane. I believe he found a very good time to back. A lot of people in base right now. I'm just trying to find... yeah, Breathe a little bit behind Beishang on the mini-map there. Goes back for the Sheen, so going to have quite a bit of power while it is the Bramble Vest for Xiaohu. Both top laners now level 6 as well, Clement, so maybe Xiaohu's ability to pressure up in that lane with way up in the top side could get a little easier.
And we have seen mainly in the Gragas go for a tank build. Start with the Bramble Vest to deny the healing coming in from Breathe's W. And we also have seen a lot of tiers incoming for Gragas. Just gives them a little bit more in the scaling department.
Something that, you know, Gragas loves being able to do quick burst trades you talked about, but the tier stacking quite nice on him even within the lane. Shanks taking Scuttle on a bit of a journey here and just giving it to the jungle. That's brothers for you. And that's when you love your mid lane as Syndra. So Beishang going to be picking up even more of an advantage. He's just got a full camps to clear.
He's two levels ahead of Wei right now.
And they'll continue, right? Like the early game, and we know that jungle leads don't really dissolve. You know, jungle leads are held for the majority of the game. So until we get towards the late game Kindred, it just feels like Beishang is going to be controlling tempo for the next 15 minutes at least.
It's a pretty interesting game so far because we haven't seen WE actually be too pressured to go into going into ganks or going into early trades, despite themselves being the pick team. You know, usually the pick team has a bit of a timer on it. The later you go into the game, the more scenarios required to 5v5 team fight. WE don't feel pressure to actually make any action happen. They're pretty happy to just sit with their lane advantages and farm this one out.
Beishang was thinking about going on the top side. Meanwhile, though, you can already see that Xiaohu's trying to get back some of that CS, but he's pushed in the wave. Shanks once again taking blue buff for a journey. He's very much about giving a vacation to some of these farm animals. So nice to see as Beishang's going to be starting the Herald. 8 minutes 30. There is vision placed by RNG on the back of this pit, but it will be a question of how Shanks and Cryin can influence.
And we're actually seeing the roam from RNG earlier, so they have the numbers advantage here. At least they're going to be able to escort Beishang away from this scuttle take.
Yeah, but the difference, Jiumeng and Missing moving together as a unit. You can see that Gala hasn't actually left the lane. Level 6 on both these guys, and Ming still doesn't have the Unbreakable Will, even with the mobility boots. So Beishang feels confident now to start this up.
Yeah, and they don't really have a chance to outsmite Beishang here. He does have a level lead, so what W want to do is just play keep away for as long as possible.
Curtain call's going to come out here, Clement. Ming now hit level 6, wants to go in. Unbreakable Will's popped up into the backline, waiting for the shockwave, but it never comes through. Cryin still holding on to that one. Solar Flare layers down. It's a steal here from Wei. The explosive cast separates his first blood, is given over. Dissonance doesn't slow down the Ragnarok Olaf. The kill for the trade, but RNG can't get in. A shockwave pulls back in, Missing. He's healed up by Jiumeng. And WE now denying their Herald. The trade, questionable, but still a nice mechanical play from Wei.
It was really well done by RNG. You could see what W were trying to do there. They knew they had the smite advantage, so we saw a very opening curtain call just to zone away the members for RNG. RNG actually don't fall for that whatsoever. They still go in and they get the Herald steal, so a very solid win on their part.
And as we return, we reset. The Herald times out, so denying the objective and the snowballing early game from WE in itself, it just feels like that win. WE still up by about 1,000 gold, and now giving first blood over to Jiumeng is going to be quite impactful. The lane that was already holding a bit of a CS lead going to feel very nice for WE.
And we are seeing Jiumeng play very, very safe right now. This is a very common thing that we see out of WE. A lot of times the support is roaming away from this lane and just leaving him by his lonesome. So we will be seeing Beishang actually come into the lane and try to make use of that level lead. I just feel like Beishang's been playing pretty slow with this one, but I think he's going to scale up very quickly just because he's always had that advantage over Wei, and if it comes to a 3v3, that will carry on.
It was talked about by Cajal in the LEC, and then talked about by Lyric actually a week ago, where we look at Olaf scaling now and how he actually transitions. Still really strong in the early game, but his transitional period into mid to late, he changes roles. Right, you know, with Gore Drinker, with the item set now available, Olaf is in just such a better position. Hence why we're seeing him as that first pick worthy.
The funniest thing is after patch 11.2, even with the Relentless Reckless Swing nerfs, his win rate actually shot up. Just because they also buffed his lifesteal as well. It actually went up by 2%, which was, I was like, wow, that's interesting.
Gonna go for the 1v1. Now, you'll regret it if he goes all in. Breeze still holds a lot of damage, but support from Ming. While Beishang doing the dragon on a ward. They wanted to find topside. Breathe already pulled back, and that trade for WE, pretty worthwhile for now. Breeze's gonna walk back into lane, and RNG not committing to the dive.
Yeah, RNG probably do see the incoming members coming out from WE. Leona is in the vicinity as well. And, you know, RNG think better of it. They definitely could have dropped the Herald just to give some extra gold over to Xiaohu, but they don't really want to fight the 3v3 in enemy jungle at this point. So, it's, I'd say it's a bit of a gold trade onto Xiaohu, but Beishang does get the objective in the meantime.
And, you know, giving dragons over, setting yourself up for Cloud Soul, Clement, when we look at how this comp operates, I am going to say that Cloud Soul, you know, feels very nice being an Olaf, feels very nice being a Syndra too. Pretty much anyone in this team comp, bar the Jin. So, does feel like for WE heading towards a very good objective point and setting up that Camille for a slower early game, a controlled early game where she already won out the trading. Breathe can now get towards that first item shortly, get some of the turret plating as a potential, and get to a point where he can just sideline fine.
We do see Breathe already indexing into the Divine Sunder, like we mentioned. Xiaohu, full tank Gragas is going to take a lot of damage from that one. So that will be the choice here. However, in this matchup, we typically have seen the the Gragas still being able to just bully out the Camille before she can get sustained. That's why Gragas' tank has come back into the meta. It was all because of that happy hour buff that gave him 8% healing after each spell cast. So he's still going to be very strong in these stages. It's going to take a while for Breathe to actually catch up to that portion.
Yeah, close towards Mythic. We've got close towards Mythic for both these top laners, I'd say, rather on Breeze's side, because he didn't opt in for the Bramble Vest, of course, being a Camille. Gale Force versus Gore Drinker, the Mythic's picked up. Gale Force versus Gale Force in the bottom lane. Jiumeng with a slight edge, having an earlier CS advantage, and that kill already picked up. I'm just looking across the board. Xiaohu, or Cryin rather, has a CS lead over Shanks by 10, so he's had a pretty good laning phase while Shanks has been trying to roam and move around alongside Beishang. But Clement, you know, a slower early game, if it's like this, is it favorable for RNG with WE trying to snowball through? Ignore me for a second because Hextech Ultimatum's being used. Ragnarok in as well. Breathe gets taken down, but Beishang a little bit low as well. The shockwave misses. Shanks flashes away. When I said Breathe gets taken down, he gets taken down to about a quarter of 3/4, excuse me. Brain is screwing up a little bit. Shanks burns both to get there, and RNG just walk up and burn and teleport themselves from Cryin. Clement Chu's obviously dead. That's okay. Doesn't want to talk anymore. Fair enough, Mr. Chu. It's now a solo cast as Divine Thunder has picked up. You're back, okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was just looking at that trade in the top side. Xiaohu had a pretty sizable minion advantage, and you can really see how close these junglers are. Both of them have the exact same ideas. They know this game is going to get decided based on whether if Breathe can become a silent threat. So every time this minion wave is pushing in, you are going to see a lot of action towards the top lane, and even the support getting in on the action too. We do see double teleports burned onto both sides. And, you know, I wanted to answer your question. If this game goes long enough without anything really happening and without top lane getting a sizable advantage, I do think it favors RNG.
Okay. Especially when you have the comp provided. I was going to mention how Shockwave, how Kindred ulti can come in. A lot of delaying time and a lot of beautiful setup. You already talked about the interaction between them and WE in the pick ban. Now, kind of denies the comp that WE set up, but I'm going to hold that thought. Missing getting Dove in the bottom lane. Headbutt, no pulverize yet. Unbreakable Will waiting for the knock up, but that Solar Flare was beautiful. In comes Jiumeng and Ming flashes away. Good negation here from WE's bottom lane as Cryin makes his way down, but the play is already over.
Very important ultimate's already burned away from Ming. He's not going to have his ultimate for the next Drake fight, meaning that there's not much of a front line on RNG's side, but they also know Beishang's top.
Flash away. Missing gets distanced as well. This is a 5-man bottom lane, so of course teleport going to be used by Breathe, but the body slam always flies in. Breathe out for the counter engage, and RNG knock him up as well. Breathe will get the trade kill, but that's not worth it. Triple kill goes over to Gala, and RNG just went head to toe.
They called WE out on their bluff. They had vision, knowing that Beishang was taking away the Herald, and they had numbers advantage. WE tried to hold their bottom side with the teleport incoming from Breathe, but they were still 3v5. That wasn't going to be enough to hold.
Herald gets dropped mid for WE, but that trade ain't going to be worth it. RNG with a 1k gold lead, and Dragon going to be taken away as well. Give that ult CDR. And as Wade picks that one up, you got to look at where the kills went. Gala picking up the kills. We just came from a series where Light on LNG carried with this pick, and it started off the back of the second dive.
Really good movement by Wei and the TP from Xiaohu, cutting off the entire back line, flashes in, gets the double stun. The bot lane dies before they can get any damage off. And just look at who Breathe is going on to right now. The Lamster Spite isn't even used from Wei. He was able to hold on to that one. It was a very safe dive. And I just feel like WE, if they wanted to take that Herald, they probably had to give up bot lane. It wasn't going to work out for them. And instead, they choose the worst option. They send a teleport into a 3v5 and lose out huge on that.
Game continues being even. You just said that RNG favor a late game where they move in with a pretty equal state. I also want to note that Cryin picked up his first item after that back as well. He now has the Seraph's Embrace, actually just upgraded there with 360 mana. Last chapter also there for the mythic items, so we don't have a mythic first here from Cryin, but a big burst of AP that this new item now provides. And it feels like Cryin having a very good game. Gala too. RNG funneling gold into this 80 carry. So he's now got an SS3 for Clement. He's an item, half an item up as bottom lane. Breathe has found Xiaohu. He's just trying to waste some time. And Fat Man, he won't be singing, but he will be dying as give the kill over to Breathe. Well done. WE fighting back.
Well played, but this is going to be at the cost of 2 towers in the top lane. RNG still get the favorable trade in terms of the gold right now, and I sort of think that the tables have turned completely. The pick comp that wants to get out ahead early now can't contest RNG in the team fights. So it's kind of interesting, but what RNG can do is actually look for a pretty early Baron to negate any of the side lane split push pressure that Breathe has.
We want to wait for those 2 items, right? You know, Breathe, if he wants the side lane, you talked about the Ravenous Hydra trying to match. He's got the Divine Sunderer already, but it's that 2 items spike to send Camille into the side lane, draw pressure with the split push, and then hold that core.
Yeah, the main thing for RNG is they just want to stay grouped up together, so I think an early Baron play might actually be on the cards. This is a composition with a lot of damage coming out. Xayah is very far ahead, sitting at 2 completed items, and you also have Kindred, who's basically a secondary 80 carry. So I think we're going to see RNG go back to some of their most precious plays when they had Uzi on the team, and that was just making sure that when their 80 carry has an advantage, you always force people to come into you on the 5v5.
And look, I've been comparing Gala to Uzi, not for the sake of skill level. He's nowhere near. I don't think even Jackie Love being near there is a bit disingenuous. Uzi was one of a kind. He was, you know, a fabled myth 80 carry, a legend, who one of the best players in LPL history. And it's sad to see him retire on that note as well. But Gala has that quality. He has that Uzi-esque feeling where he can kind of take over team fights. He's getting better and better per split. And he's got a lot of potential in him. So I want to see how he plays these fights, Clement. I want to see around these next couple of dragons what happens with RNG. Gold is dead even, so it makes the fights a little bit fun. Or at least more fun. As WE, look, they had the early lead, but they're just trying to farm up now, get that Camille to 2 items, and maybe look for a pick. This is the potential there, but Lamb's despite use Unleash Power. Curtain Call lines up, but Ming's going to block this. The heal from Wei comes in nice and quick, as Scout of the Week not going to be there just yet, but Ragnarok on the Olaf comes in. Shockwave not going to be there, because on the backside, won't be used. And Jiumeng comes in as well. Explosive Cask as well. Nails down. Scout of the Week used in the end, and RNG going to win another one here, Clement. A double kill over to Gala once more.
It looks so good for WE to actually start off. They had the true damage, and they were chasing down Wei, who had no ultimate, already had to burn, had to get away with that one. And then Ming had to pop his ultimate as well. But the comeback play from Xiaohu was just too massive. He catches out 2 members in the choke, throws them back with the alley-oop ultimate, and RNG, like I was talking about, posturing around Baron to force the team fight play to happen. They get what they want.
That cask was a stroke of brilliance from Xiaohu. Watch again, the poke trying to come through, but WE go too far.
Yeah, WE, they should have been happy with the ultimates coming out right here. Instead, they try to chase the Alistar down. Ming doesn't even die for his troubles, and Jiumeng is left in such an awkward position. You know, Xiaohu even doing a bit of a stutter step before he goes for his primary targets. They find the 2 kills down, they wipe the map completely clean, and Gala is sitting at 5-0-1 with the Baron buff.
Doing a bit of the Michael Jackson moonwalk, you know. Xiaohu on the spot, just kind of
I wonder if he
got through it in the end.
Stuck on anything. I'm not sure. Yeah. I think it was a visual bug because of the captivating audience.
Okay.
The deadly flourish. I think it was like a visual bug for
maybe the ward became interactive and he got stuck behind that. Who knows? But RNG pick up the Baron. Now they've got a 3k gold lead. Before we were already talking about the comps and the win conditions. The Shockwave's going to come through only onto 1. They get the Dragon, now moving into the fight mid. Missing's low, and he'll just get bursted down. That's what we talked about, Clement. If people in chat weren't listening, this is a comp that RNG drafted into. They counted it from the get-go. And now with this gold lead, they're going to take over.
No picks by W whatsoever, no side lane pressure, even though Xiaohu is down 50 CS. It doesn't matter. With the Baron buff, you're never going to get side lane pressure. So this is RNG's chance to really put their feet on the gas, go all the way.
Money where their mouth is.
Exactly, and get as much of a gold lead as you possibly can in this situation. Just make sure that, you know, Camille can never make anything out of this game.
You got a 5-stack in this bottom lane. You don't care because you've got a Gragas who can dive alongside of Ming. Ming's Alistar, a legend in the field. And Xiaohu now on a more supportive role, adding so much texture to RNG. Deadly Flourish does nothing. Now RNG pushing into another inhibitor.
I don't think WE can hold here. This is going to be a 5v4.
Breathe is not here. Breathe still got the teleport, but he's trying to push a turret in the top side. They're scared of the flank coming through, but RNG have already found the inhibitor turret. They've exposed their Breathe. Will be able to trade it off, but just not worth it at this stage. And RNG make good use of the Baron buff.
WE handing over team gold for solo gold onto Breathe. They know their win condition very, very well at this point. They know without Breathe being able to punish anyone on the side lanes, they're not going to be able to come back. But the problem is you really only have 3 inhibitor towers. You can't do that trade too often in this game. So it's one that I feel like W need to turn around relatively quickly. And if they don't get a pick within the time the next Drake comes up, I just feel like the game's over. Like you're gonna be forced into team fights too quickly. You're not gonna be able to pick anyone off after that, and it's just an easy snowball for RNG. So this is where it's a real test for WE. Can they use Missing and can they use Shanks crowd control to actually find someone out of position on RNG?
It's going to be hard. You've got a lot of mobility here with the Gale Force. Also, the Shirelia's Reverie, which now, remember, gives 200 HP. It's changed quite a bit. You don't get the bonus 5% movement speed just flat in your kit. But you still get that active, which is really, really great for the Alistar in this game. Especially when to run away from WE's comp. There's a lot of tools to do so, Clement. So 4K gold lead, 24, 25 minutes in. RNG within the realms of control. 2 dragons off of a soul. Baron has now expired. And you can see Breathe trying to get priority in the side lane with that Ravenous Hydra picked up. But RNG not too scared. They'll send their jungler and they'll get ready for the next fight.
Sterix is a massive team fight boost to Camille as it gives her a 40% HP shield on top of the 20% HP shield she already has from her passive. So you really want to go into the team fight phase with your Sterix ready. I don't think she's going to get the chance to do that before the next Drake comes up. We're sitting at 2 minutes away from that. Full vision control from RNG. As long as they don't send anyone else other than Gragas past this river, I think they're fine.
Teleport being used, though. RNG would just want to end the game. Jiumeng and Missing on the wrong side. Xiaohu's tanky enough. He flashes over the wall. Solar Flare was a little bit delayed. Waiting for the explosive cast. It sends Jiumeng back into the side of RNG. Forward they go with Gala at the helm. He goes forward just like Uzi would. As Missing goes down as well. Wei tanks up a bit in the front line. A double kill once again in RNG. All 5 members at the helm. Ready to run it into the base.
And RNG aren't even going to wait for the 5v5s. They know they have to lead. They know they can play the game however they want. They just go in for the killing blow here. Xiaohu on a back ward does get a perfect angle. It was kind of comical to watch the fat man get stunned down so many times.
Now
Ming,
still go for Shockwave comes in. Shanks is just dead. I'm going to reiterate, Clement, Gala didn't even flash in the last fight. He uses Featherstorm forward. And they're going to run right into the Nexus with 3 members dead. Look at the timer on Jiumeng and Missing. Will it be enough? First Nexus turret being under fire. The minion wave is dissipated. Onto Beishang. Damage comes through with dissonance. Forward Cryin goes once again, but RNG will not end the game here.
They have a lot of objectives that they can attend to if they get the successful recall. So what I think WE are going to try and do is at least slow them down. Make sure it's really awkward and at least make sure that WE have that sort of backing advantage over RNG. RNG's response is they're going to back in succession. Oh, actually, they're all backing out at the same time. So they want to be on the map at the same time right before these objectives come out. WE don't get the delay here, and it's going to be an even footing as they go into the objectives.
The Xiaohu teleport, Clement.
Yeah, this is pretty funny. Just watching Xiaohu just, get stunned up, eat up a bunch of crowd control, but he's so tanky. He doesn't really care at this point. And unfortunately for WE, you can see on the mini-map, their solo lanes are nowhere near this situation. Olaf and Camille are funneling into this team fight a little bit late. And RNG just use that extra mobility that they have with the Shirelias and the teleport buff to find those kills.
Baron starting, curtain call with the teleport from Breathe off the side. WE need to steal his Beishang there, but he's too late. Smite to kills from RNG. Good scatter of the week off of Xiaohu. Ragnarok used as well. Ming gets popped down quite a bit as Missing engaged with the Solar Flare. Breathe coming in off of the flank. He flashes on in, but he gets knocked up, pulverized by Ming as the main carry in Gala gets the Blade Caller. Breathe getting low. Gala knocked aside though, but RNG still have another 80 carry in the jungle. A quadra kill for Wei is all you need to end this game 1.
RNG, they draft a perfect composition. They know what WE is going to do. They're all funneling into them, and the Lamb's respite is absolutely massive. Breathe with his AoE damage could have taken down 3 carries there, but none of them were going to fall because of that invulnerability. And, you know, RNG just closed this game off in style with such a strong understanding of their composition.
Feels like we went back into the past.